This is a picture of Sherbrooke in Saskatoon, and we are home to 263 elders, ranging in age from about 20 to 110. Elder is a term we use denoting that it's someone deserving of our respect and someone here to teach us. We in our community, we include all of the elders' families, around 500 staff, 400 volunteers, 11 partnership schools, the 20 grade 6s located on site, the 45 children in the child daycare, and 100-day program participants who live in the community. It's a vibrant community and a registered home with the Eden Alternative for 15 years. We were studied by the Alzheimer's Society of Canada, and we were chosen as one of 6 places of excellence in culture change towards a person-directed model of care. We are like a small town full of many characters. There is never a dull moment. So today I would like to give you 3 key messages. The first is that the medical model of care that is very common in long-term care is the wrong model for anybody with dementia, or for that matter, anybody living in long-term care. We need to change that model. A person-directed model of care, which is different than the medical model, is a more appropriate model as it creates well-being and joy. My third point there is that there are some successful approaches that only work in the person-directed model of care, and I will share some of those with you today. I think that we really need to work on the system, and I would just like to tell you one other story about Ellen and Richard that demonstrates this. So on November 28th, 2009, my wife Ellen dressed herself, cooked her breakfast, walked our dog 5 times, spoke with neighbors during the walk, and none knew she had dementia. On November 29th, 2009, this is one day later, as usual, she awoke in pain and insisted on pain meds every 5 minutes. Needing respite, I took her to her sister's and asked her to sit with her for 2 hours. Ellen became agitated and insisted on coming home. I was out walking 2 miles, and her sister took her to the ER at the local hospital. I saw a message on my answering machine and arrived at the ER in time to see the doctor, who told me to go home and get some sleep and pick her up the next day. He said he would give her a mild tranquilizer injection to calm her. I left at 7 p.m. Upon return the next morning, my wife was in a straitjacket and wild-eyed and angry and agitated. She remained so for 3 days when a nursing home placement was arranged. I now inquired about the tranquilizer used and found it was Haldol. She now started her 5-month journey through 6 nursing homes and bounced back to the hospital 5 times for larger doses of antipsychotics, always given against my written disapproval. They used Zyprexia, Depakote, Haldol, Seroquel, Risperidol. These were the drugs they used despite my written protests. I insisted that they were wrong in insisting that her dementia had progressed to the final stage in just 1 day. The last hospital arranged to seek court-ordered guardianship to remove me because they said I was interfering with their attempts to properly medicate my wife. But a law firm worked to negate the guardianship. My wife has been home 2 years and off all meds and happy. Ellen is a poster child example of what is wrong with dementia care, and only rescued with immense emotional pain on my part. At one point, her heart stopped upon the administration of Seroquel, despite promising they would not use it. I'm sure my wife's story is repeated often in this world of dementia. Signed by Richard B. So this is an article written by this man on a blog, which I will give you the reference for later. But could this happen in British Columbia? Okay, lots of nodding heads. So Nancy Fox of the Eden Alternative says, we have created worlds where our elders with dementia do not want to be, and then we medicate them to keep them there. So she summed it up well. So let's have a look at how we commonly view people with dementia. Our current view is that it's so awful to have dementia, and until we find a cure, there is nothing that we can do to make people's lives better, except medicate their distress. The popular answer to this problem is usually, we need more staff. But unless we change the model of care, I believe that all that will change is that there will be more staff to ask the nurse to medicate the elder. Lou Tice, who was the founder of the Pacific Institute, whose purpose is to help people become successful through the use of cognitive psychology, said we act in accordance with the truth as we perceive and believe it to be. So our thoughts form our actions, and so we need to change the way that we think if we want to change the way that we act. If we believe that there is nothing we can do for people with dementia, we will do nothing different. So the problem is that we're in the wrong model of care. The medical model is set up for trauma and acute episodes of illness. And the institution is set up for efficient care of the masses. And this is really the model that we have inherited. It's like a well-oiled machine, and unfortunately, the elders can be viewed as parts. Does this sound like home? So we ask the elders to fit into our routines and schedules instead of us fitting into their rituals so we can get our work done. How do you get your bath time in long-term care? It's scheduled, and it's actually the vacancy left by the person who died, whose room you moved into. So instead of us adjusting our schedule, we ask the new person to fit into the current schedule. We act as though the elders live in our workplace, as opposed to us working in their home. So if this is your culture, and you send people off for education, unless they're strong leaders and have strong and enlightened leaders back at home, they'll fall back into the status quo upon their return. The resistance to change from peers is a powerful force, and that's why leaders have to invest in culture change strategies. So let's look at the goals of care in an institutional and medical model. So it's to maintain order and keep people safe, to have an effective schedule so we can get our work done, to maintain peace and quiet, and to manage or eliminate behaviors, and I use that word cautiously. So now in the medical model, the goals are to diagnose disease and to discover their causes and symptoms and design treatments to eliminate, alleviate, or minimize the symptoms or the disease itself. The model is applied for a short period of time and is challenged by chronic illnesses and as yet incurable diseases. So clearly hospitals were not designed for people to live in. However, so many care homes are run and look like hospitals. So let's look at the goals in a person-directed model. The goals are to create a culture where the desires of the elder direct our work. And I know this slide's slightly different than yours. It's to enable the person to succeed and to grow, to have high quality of life, to care for the whole person, and to create pleasurable moments, growth, joy, and well-being. One of our previous managers at Sherbrooke said that our job is to create a series of pleasurable moments. So there's a disconnect. The institutional model was created for efficient care of groups of people, not individual people. And the medical model is challenged by chronic illnesses and as yet incurable diseases, and that describes dementia to date. Dr. Thomas of the Eden Alternative says the medical model and the social services model got together and had a baby. And they called it the nursing home. And it looks a little bit like its mama and a little bit like its papa. And so that's the legacy we've been fighting. So the goals of the institutional and medical model are really incompatible with quality of life of the person with dementia, which is our goal in a person-centered model of care. So what is the solution? Well, if you believe what Lou Tice said, we must change our minds about people whose minds have changed. This is Dr. G. Alan Power, who wrote the book Dementia Beyond Drugs, which won the American Nurses Book of the Year Award in 2010. And if you're a nurse, it's a must read. But we must change our minds. We must view people differently in order to act differently. So he defines dementia as a shift in the way a person experiences the world around him. So looking from the view of the elder is really powerful, as it gives us insight into another way of helping the person with dementia. Empathy is critical. Imagine a person being unable to make any sense of what's going on around them, what's happening to them, or how to do the things that they used to easily do. Still Alice is a wonderful book and movie, which I encourage you to watch. And it really teaches us that empathy is what we need, not sympathy. So we need to change how we view people with dementia. Unless we view people differently, we won't be compelled to change the model of care. We need to change the model of care to a person-directed model where our goal is to create joy and well-being. So how do you change the model? Well, changing our culture is the key. And context is a huge factor in determining our behavior.